This is no longer just celebrity gossip. Lawyers are now confirming that Kandi Burruss's ironclad prenup is officially under fire, and insiders are whispering that the outcome could flip everything she thought was protected: money, power, marriage, and a legal battle that is starting to look way too close for comfort. And the real question everyone is afraid to ask is this: could Todd actually win? For years, Kandi Burruss has been known as one of the smartest business minds in reality TV. A hitmaker, a mogul, a powerhouse with contracts, companies, and wealth built long before marriage ever entered the picture. That is why when news broke that her prenup with Todd Tucker is now at the center of a heated legal battle, fans everywhere froze. Because this was supposed to be untouchable, a prenup so tight, so carefully crafted, so legally sound that nobody ever imagined it could be seriously challenged. Yet here we are. Lawyers are now speaking in cautious tones, insiders are quietly leaking details, and the once unthinkable question is suddenly on the table. What if Kandi is not as protected as she thought? Tonight we are breaking down how this battle started, what the lawyers are really saying behind the scenes, what is actually at stake for both Kandi and Todd, and why some experts believe the outcome could send shockwaves through celebrity marriage culture. You think you know how this ends. But trust me, when Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker first got married, the prenup was not a secret. In fact, it was openly discussed on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, dissected by fans, and praised by financial experts who watched from the outside. Kandi had been rich long before she ever walked down the aisle. Songwriting checks from TLC, Destiny's Child, and countless other artists. Businesses stacked on businesses. Restaurants, production companies, touring income, and brand deals. She was not just wealthy, she was established. And Todd? At the time, he was known primarily as a producer within the Bravo world. Respected in his field, yes, but nowhere near Kandi's financial level. That imbalance is exactly why the prenup was framed as necessary, not optional. Kandi was protecting decades of work. Todd publicly agreed. The paperwork was signed. The marriage moved forward. For years, fans believed that document was bulletproof. But here is what most people never think about when it comes to prenups. A prenup is only as strong as what happens after the wedding. Once money starts moving, once assets start mixing, once joint businesses are created, once one spouse contributes to the growth of another spouse's empire, the legal landscape begins to shift, quietly, slowly, almost invisibly, and that is exactly what appears to have happened here. Over the years, Todd became deeply involved in Kandi's business world. He was not just a husband on the sidelines. He worked on projects. He helped manage ventures. He became part of the machine that made the money multiply. Their brands began to overlap. Their investments became joint. Their public image turned into a package deal. And that is where things get complicated. Because when a spouse can show they played a significant role in growing wealth during the marriage, it opens legal doors that a simple prenup cannot always shut. Insiders say that the current legal tension is not about what Kandi built before Todd. It is about what was built during the marriage. And that distinction is everything in family court. According to people familiar with how these challenges work, Todd's side is not arguing that he deserves Kandi's past. They are allegedly focused on marital growth, sweat equity, shared ventures, and contributions that go far beyond emotional support. In plain terms, the argument looks something like this. You may have come into this rich, but we built this next level together. That is where lawyers start circling, because even the strongest prenups can be tested if there is evidence that both parties blurred financial lines after saying, "I do." Shared accounts, shared companies, joint properties, business decisions made together, risks taken together, wins celebrated together. And when love and money mix long enough, separating them becomes messy. Very messy. Now here is where things started quietly shifting from background whispers into something much louder. A legal expert familiar with celebrity divorces allegedly reviewed the structure of Kandi and Todd's known joint ventures and raised a troubling possibility. If Todd can prove that marital funds or marital labor significantly increase the value of businesses once considered separate, the prenup may not shield every dollar the way fans assume. That does not mean Kandi suddenly loses everything, but it does mean the fight is no longer symbolic. It is mathematical, and that is when the phrase started circulating quietly behind the scenes. Looks bad for Kandi. Not because she is wrong, not because she did anything illegal, but because the situation is no longer simple, it is layered, it is technical, it is interpretive, and those are the most dangerous kinds of legal battles, because the outcome depends on how a judge sees fairness, not just how the contract reads. But that is only the surface, because when fans started noticing subtle shifts in their public behavior, the internet began asking an even darker question. Was this tension brewing long before the lawyers ever got involved? What makes the Kandi Burruss prenup battle so compelling and so dangerous is not just the money, it's the emotional undertow that runs beneath every legal document, every headline, and every social media post. This is a story about two people deeply entwined in love, business, and public expectation, and how those forces can suddenly collide when a prenup is tested. Kandi and Todd's marriage has been in the public eye for over a decade. Fans have watched them celebrate milestones, launch businesses, welcome children, and even navigate drama that never hit tabloids. Their relationship has always been portrayed as strong, grounded, and business savvy. But once money, power, and public scrutiny intersect, the dynamics of any marriage, even one seemingly unshakable, begin to strain. Sources close to the couple suggest that over the years, small disagreements about finances and business decisions began to surface. Not explosive fights, but enough tension to create patterns: who controls which accounts, whose name appears on which investments, who signs off on deals, and ultimately, whose vision dominates when there's a disagreement. And here is the crucial point that legal experts are now pointing to. When a prenup is designed to protect premarital assets, it does not always account for the nuanced ways wealth can grow once two people start blending business and marriage. For example, Todd's involvement in Kandi's projects may now be framed as essential contribution. Even if he never came close to the original wealth Kandi brought into the marriage, courts have increasingly recognized effort-based or marital contribution claims. Essentially, if a spouse can prove that their labor, time, or managerial input significantly increase the value of separate assets, those assets may be reconsidered as marital property, at least partially. And this is where insiders say things could get particularly sticky. Imagine this scenario. A business that was originally considered Kandi's separate asset sees exponential growth during the marriage because of Todd's active participation. Even if a prenup clearly states it's hers alone, the court could take a close look and weigh whether he deserves a portion. It doesn't happen in every case, but enough precedent exists to make it a real concern. Social media has amplified this tension to an almost unbearable level. Fans and critics alike have been dissecting every public action: joint vacations, social media posts about business launches, interviews highlighting Todd's contributions, and subtle comments on their reality show. Every public smile, every laugh, and every nod toward collaboration is suddenly examined through the lens of legal strategy. And here is the emotional kicker. Kandi, who meticulously built her empire, is now forced to publicly balance pride, love, and self-preservation. The same man she trusted with her personal life and business success is now the legal opponent who could challenge decades of hard work. And Todd, in turn, must navigate the delicate position of asserting a claim without alienating fans, without appearing greedy, and without publicly undermining the marriage narrative that has supported both of their careers. This is why celebrity prenup battles are so fascinating and so destructive. They are not just about money. They are about trust, ego, perception, and emotional leverage. Every lawyer, every accountant, every fan becomes a spectator in a game that is equal parts courtroom drama and deeply personal heartbreak. And the drama doesn't stop there, because as the legal documents circulate among attorneys, insiders say there's another complication. Certain clauses in Kandi and Todd's prenup may be technically enforceable, but could be legally challenged based on timing, execution, or ambiguity. In other words, even a contract that seems airtight on paper can unravel under scrutiny if the opposing legal team identifies gaps or leverage points. And that is when speculation really starts. Questions fans are asking now: did Todd plan for this all along? Did he really have grounds to challenge the prenup? Or is this purely strategic? Could this battle drag on for years with both parties' public images hanging in the balance? And most importantly, if the court sides with him, how much could Kandi actually lose? But the story takes an even more intense turn when we examine the psychological and social stakes at play. Because this isn't just a fight over money. This is a battle that impacts legacy, reputation, and the way the world perceives power couples in the entertainment industry. And when emotions, ambition, and millions of dollars collide, the fallout can be more shocking than anyone expected. And just when fans thought they had seen the worst of this conflict, the next revelation hit like a bombshell, making the prenup battle feel less like a legal dispute and more like a full-blown public drama. As the prenup battle heats up, one of the most critical and revealing aspects comes straight from the legal experts themselves. Lawyers familiar with celebrity divorce cases have started weighing in, and their analyses are both fascinating and alarming. They suggest that while Kandi Burruss's prenup was originally considered extremely strong, there are nuanced vulnerabilities that could tilt the scales in Todd Tucker's favor. The first point lawyers emphasize is the distinction between premarital and marital contributions. Kandi's wealth before marriage was substantial, no doubt, but the growth of joint ventures, combined projects, and Todd's active involvement could, in the eyes of a judge, create shared ownership claims. Essentially, even if an asset started as Kandi's separate property, evidence that Todd directly influenced its growth during the marriage could open the door to a partial claim. Then there's the question of enforceability. Prenups are enforceable, but they are not immune to challenges. Lawyers point out several common grounds: procedural flaws like rushed signatures or insufficient legal counsel at the time of signing, lack of full financial disclosure during the agreement, clauses that are ambiguous or overly broad, leaving room for interpretation changes in circumstances that significantly alter the balance of fairness. Any one of these factors could potentially be leveraged by Todd's legal team. And while insiders stress that nothing is confirmed, the mere possibility has sent shockwaves through both fan circles and reality TV gossip networks. Another layer to consider is the human element: negotiation and settlement pressure. Even when a prenup is technically enforceable, many divorces involving high-profile figures end in negotiated settlements. Why? Because litigation is expensive, public, and emotionally draining. Lawyers often advise their clients to consider settlements not because they are losing, but because the cost of a drawn-out courtroom battle can outweigh even millions in financial gain. This is where things get particularly tricky for Kandi. She's a savvy businesswoman, but this is not just a financial game. It's deeply personal. Todd's team may push for mediation or court rulings that exploit emotional leverage, timing, or public perception. In the court of public opinion, small slips, social media posts, interviews, or even rumors can translate into tangible pressure in legal strategy. Insiders have also hinted at potential loopholes. Certain joint ventures may not have been fully accounted for in the original prenup. Collaborative projects where Todd played a hands-on role could be reframed as marital property. Intellectual property, production credits, and profit-sharing agreements might all come under scrutiny. Lawyers warn that even minor oversights can become pivotal points when millions are on the line. And then there's the media factor. Every detail leaks, whether intentional or not. Each public statement is dissected by fans, bloggers, and journalists. Memes and viral posts can subtly influence public perception, which indirectly influences courtroom dynamics in celebrity cases. Judges are supposed to remain impartial, but the constant media storm adds psychological weight to negotiations. But perhaps the most shocking revelation from insiders is this: Todd's legal strategy appears calculated and patient. He is reportedly not just challenging financial divisions, he is framing a broader narrative. The argument being built is that he contributed significantly to Kandi's empire during their marriage, making certain protections in the prenup subject to legal challenge. And while fans might assume that prenups are absolute shields, the truth is far more complicated. Legal analysts say that Kandi's case is not doomed, but it is now more vulnerable than it was at signing. The courtroom may ultimately favor her, favor Todd, or end in a complex settlement that leaves both parties with compromises. This revelation has left fans in a frenzy. Social media threads are flooded with speculation. Will Kandi's carefully built fortune remain intact? Can Todd successfully challenge the prenup? Are there untold documents or business agreements that will tip the scales? And here's where the suspense deepens. The more the lawyers talk, the more it seems like the real battle isn't just about money. It's about influence, control, and the narrative of power couples in Hollywood. Winning or losing this case is as much about public perception as it is about legal entitlement. Just when the drama seems almost too calculated to be real, a leak from a source close to the couple suggested something even more unexpected. Todd allegedly has additional claims that could reshape how courts interpret their financial and business partnerships. If verified, this could be a game changer, potentially redefining the entire prenup discussion and leaving Kandi scrambling to protect what she thought was untouchable. At the end of the day, the Kandi Burruss prenup battle is more than a story about money. It's about trust, strategy, power, and perception. A prenup that once seemed untouchable is now being dissected, debated, and challenged in a way that nobody expected. Lawyers are speaking in cautious tones, insiders are leaking possibilities, and fans are glued to every development. For Kandi, the stakes are enormous. She has built an empire with her talent, intellect, and relentless drive. And yet, even the strongest legal protections can be tested when relationships, contributions, and public perception collide. For Todd, the stakes are equally high. He has the potential to secure recognition, financial reward, and leverage, but he also risks public criticism if the world perceives the challenge as opportunistic. This story underscores a larger lesson about wealth, marriage, and celebrity life. Contracts can protect assets, but they cannot fully protect hearts, reputations, or emotional investments. Even the smartest business moves require constant vigilance when love and money intersect. So, what happens next? Will Todd win? Will Kandi maintain full control of her empire? Or will this battle settle somewhere in the gray area, leaving both parties with compromises? The truth is, nobody knows yet, but every development will be scrutinized, debated, and remembered. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Kandi's prenup will hold up, or is Todd positioned to win a major legal victory? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this video opened your eyes to the high-stakes world of celebrity prenups and the drama behind the headlines, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned, because the next story we're covering promises to be even more shocking, controversial, and headline-making.